Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Judith Browse. I'm the book shepherd, and we are into a new year. So I love to open a quote, as I always do from my books, Nappy, Sassy, Salty Success for Authors and Writers. Highly recommend that you get it just for little shorty. This is what it looks like on the inside. It's like quotes you can get little motivators. I've had actually people rip them out and post them around. But with that said, this is, a year of change. So often when change arrives, it isn't easy to recognize its entrance, but once here, it's impossible to ignore. So again, I'm Judith Briles. This is Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing. And we have some new formats this year. We're doing video, which I kind of love because I like that kind of action and that interaction. And I like to imagine you out there in my audience. But within each show, I'm going to give you tips and strategies, ahas, chewy things that you can come away with to implement for your author success. It's going to be just me solo today. And what I'm going to be talking about is kind of a checklist, a checklist. A couple years ago, I had my theme, the word repurpose. This is kind of a repurposing, a revising, a refreshing of what you're currently doing for your success to go forward with for this new year. And it's always going to start with when we're talking about repurposing, we need to go to what you've already got. And please, 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 please tell me you've got a website. And I know authors ask me, why do I need a website? Because you need to have a landing post, a position that people can come back to find out more information about you, what brings you to the party, what's your passion? Why are you writing? Or if you're doing any consulting, or if you're doing any speaking, what's the why behind it? So what is it? So let's start with number one is we just need to goose up your website. What have you done recently? What are you adding to it? Please tell me you're adding something weekly, a little change, a little tweak to it, a blog of it. Maybe there's an article. Maybe you've gotten a review on your media page. Yes, you have a media page, a little tab that has media, a review that you can shout out. Do you have a book tab where they can go buy your book that you want to maybe add that in? And I've got a broken wrist, so that's what you're seeing me sitting around. I use my hands when I speak. Um, that you have people can come to, wouldn't it be a good idea to pull a line, a tidbit from something that someone says that's powerful about you or your book? Let's add it to the media page or the book reviews come in. Have you checked out, are you going to your Amazon page, your Goodreads page, and seeing if any new reviews have come out? Exert them, pull them out, maybe do a thank you, do a social media push out with it too. But come out and add it to your media page, your review page, those testimonials on that. So it's really easy peasy to forget about your websites, and I do get it. It's like, okay, God, all this work went into it. I'm done, so done. Well, you're not done. You're never done. And if you're working on a new book, have you got something that says coming soon? Are you doing some video series coming soon? Have you created a YouTube channel and why haven't you? Maybe that's something. We'll go into social media on that. But something, a new video that you have that you can add to your website, or you can link over, write an article or a blog to it to link them over to go to it on that. So, and let's talk about, that there's new things out there. There's a thing called uh, uh, Threads, maybe from Facebook. Maybe you're on TikTok now. If you're on Twitter, did you change it to X on it? So look at your icons and let's check them that they're all workable, that they all are live and they're linking. And you'd be shocked how many broken links we all have, including me, that we have to go in and recheck. Is this stuff working on that? So let's update your social media icons. And then make sure that if you have, I think another idea that I have on my contact page on my website from the Book Shepherd, I always bring people back to the on contacting me. I include on there, here's my Facebook, here's my threads here, and are you on threads now? You want to add that icon, by the way. Is you have the Instagram. If you're on Instagram, do you have that icon? But that I always add on my contact page. You can contact me on Facebook, on threads, on da 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 da. So do those kind of things on that and that. And it's a good idea that please tell me you have a copyright date on your website. Have you switched over to Gulp 225, the ad on that? So let's think about doing that kind of stuff. Now, let's go over to probably the biggest seller of your books. If you're not out speaking, and I do want you to get there out speaking on there, would probably be Amazon. So, have you looked at your Amazon retail page? And by the way, the same thing is, have you looked at bn.com, Barnes and Noble retail page? Because if you're on Ingram Spark, automatically you'll have a BN page. Did you know that? Have you thought about adding to the website on your book page? My books are available on Amazon, on bn.com. Have you looked at that? Because this is the update. The more you can get broad distribution, the happier you'll be. The more exposure you get, the better you'll be able to add into your influence capability. And that's what this game is all about. Is all right. Now, let's also, if you've won any recent prizes, contests, awards, recognition, have you added that to your Amazon retail page? Do you know that you could go on if you're on KDP, for example, you can go in there and you can change the details page. Just update, it says contents page. You can go in there and you can do it in lovely bold. At the very tippy top, if you've won a new award or you've been a bestseller, ta-da, let's do that and add that on. Or if you've got an endorsement or a quote or an amazing review that you have gotten that you could put on like a plug line from that and get the who contributed it. But you can do that. Look at when you do these things, especially on your website, but now we're crossing over. I've got you on Amazon and bnn.com. That when you do that, you're bringing the social media gods love it. The Google gods love it, that you're bringing more juice to the party. So let's do that kind of thing. If you haven't done anything and updated, this is the time to do it. So to do that on your checklist. Now, what about you? What's new with you? And is there anything forthcoming, or did you just publish something? This is the time to refresh your author bio, both on your website, but also on those social media pages, both on your online retail pages there that you've just published this. I know that as I speak to you in this first month of the year for the first time on this topic, that I've got 2 new books coming out this spring. One is the 3rd edition in the Harmony book series, our historical fiction series, for The Secret Rise. We're 90% done. We're doing the final tuning, the final chapters, and then we go to our big editor in the sky, and then to layout. And the book will be available in March, late March. So I've got a cookbook. Finally, people have hounded me to do my recipes. Some of the things they know I'm a cook. And I've got a little easy peasy cookbook coming out. So this is the time to do that updating and let people know that it's coming. And don't say it's going to be available March 12th. Just say, this spring. You remember spring is March to June. So that gives you lots of leeway on that flexibility. All right, now let's take a look on your website. This is all on your website too, by the way. I'm talking and I'm then kind of throwing you into other areas. And we'll go off to that. And now we're talking about your media room. Do you have a media tab in there? What do you have on there? Any new reviews? Have you updated that? This is where you add that to it. Have you been on any podcast? Have you captured the logo for the podcast? Most of them have them now. And the link to the show that you're on, and maybe a couple of lines to what the show is about. Have you done something like that? So you want to go in and just, again, any of the interviews that you've done that you start adding onto it, again, they get broken too, those links. So make sure that they're still viable and working. I know in mine, we're now adding, we have a YouTube that we add things to, but now we're putting all our podcast and we're doing those in video. So now we have a YouTube live that we have to bring into the party and make that work. So that's kind of good. All right. So next up is, and this can take some time, but I think remember, you've got this branding going on. And the social media profiles should all be looked at. And it's not just now, at the beginning of the year. I think that that's a quarterly checkup that you should be doing. And this is when, they all have character limits of how much you can put on. Some are very teeny weeny, like Pinterest, very teeny weeny, where others give you a lot of latitude. So that I think that what you ought to do is just make sure that there's a consistency. I kind of like to see, I love to see updated banners going on. I know that I'll get um, tags every once in a while that, oh, so and so has updated their Facebook page or profile, their banner across. They put, maybe it's a cute picture or something. For you as an author, I'm not for you doing that. I'm in it for you branding as a professional writer, a serious author on this book page that you've got out there, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, X, whether it's and Instagram, wherever it is. You've got to have a good visual presence. And I like consistency, knowing that when I'm going from one to another, or maybe I'm looking for you on a profile, and just exploring that when I see something and I know that you're already over here on Facebook, there's a consistency and I recognize, oh, it's you, because a lot of people have the same name. So, and their handles are different, the descriptions, but that you put in something, it will maybe give you lots of options of names coming up. If they can recognize who you are really quickly, it's a huge, huge plus. So branding and consistency. So we're doing the social media profiles. We're going to look at, is there anything new? Or maybe you should rearrange a few words. If you've been best-selling on Amazon any one time, I would have best-selling in there. If you have any book awards, best-selling, award-winning, mystery suspense author, that kind of thing. And I think it's important, if you're speaking, that you have speaking, or that you specialize in book clubs, or you'd like to. Remember, those are all search words we're using. So to get in and do updates on all those. And then some of the profiles may have like 150 characters. Remember, spaces, punctuation are characters. That and so if you do like a hyphen, and I don't use emojis on that, I just I want to use my words. But if instead of putting a period and a space and starting another sentence, I might say, Dr. Judith Briles, I would leave off the period, not necessary. Dr. Judith Briles, hyphen, best-selling, award-winning author, speaker. All right. So I would put a hyphen in instead of saying award-winning, best-selling, period. Heck with that. I would use a hyphen, and then I only have one character and not two characters. So you want to, you're into really the character account when you're doing these things. So I would play around with that. So let's do an update, your banners. If you've got if you've got a whole bunch of books, do you have a series of books in your banner? maybe showing that. Because sometimes some of the social media platforms will bring up your picture like in a little circle, right? So you don't need your picture in your banner. So, but having your books, yeah, I like that kind of thing. So we update our banners. And I have these 2 new books come along. We'll expand it and have that all in one area. So make sure you do that. So update those banners. The next step is, again, and I mentioned this earlier, that you need to do a link update. It so means you're going to check them everywhere. If you have got blogs that you have written that have linked to another one of your blogs, is that live, still live? And you know, this is work. This is time consuming. So if I wouldn't be doing this in your high energy productivity, creativity time. This is kind of more of a lull time, or maybe you're listening or watching something on TV. You can just go through and start checking, checking, checking. And this is a multitask time area. Or if you have a VA, this is a great task to give to a VA to go through and work through that. All right, so this is a biggie, and this is called your mailing list. When's the last time you really checked it? Have you gone in to whoever you use this to send stuff out? What's your download rate, your open rate? What's your bounce rate? Who's bouncing? And I know some people have said, oh, but I don't want to update my list because then I would lose some of the people. Look at if they're bouncing like crazy, or if they're never opening anything from you, maybe it's time just to go delete and move them out. So do you have now, when's the last, what's your consistency factor? Like I know every Tuesday I have a blog out. Every Wednesday I have a newsletter that goes out. Every Thursday I have a podcast, e-blast that goes out or it goes live on YouTube. You know, what do you have that's consistent? Every Saturday I have a special blog that goes out that is a teaser. It's something chewy. It's not an info blog where my Tuesday blog is kind of a task, how to, that kind of thing. Usually the Saturday blog it can be 4 lines. It's short. It's something to chew on, that I do. And it's amazing how many emails I get individually from people who like something I said or suggested or whatever it's about. Friday and Mondays I save for, I don't have anything routinely go out unless it's an announcement like a program I have coming up, something we're doing there. Okay, so what have you got going on? And you're acting in your consistency. So back to bounce rates. So has something not been open for a year? You know what? That person could be long gone. They're no longer interested. So let them delete on that. And also, let me tell you, people accidentally unsubscribe. So where is your unsubscribe notice on there? I think I've been in things that I've tried to unsubscribe so many times and they still don't unsubscribe me. Have you been in that situation? Or I can't find the bloody unsubscribe on it. So I think that if you have the capability of whatever you're sending out and you've got the unsubscribe, if you can do it in a bold, you're doing people a favor. Because I've had sometimes people say, I'm no longer interested in writing. Would you unsubscribe me? And I want to, I'm saying, but you can unsubscribe on the email you're getting. No, they'll just email me directly. That's fine. That's fine. But make it easy for people, because that a lot of people don't realize this. If you get rid of those bounces, if you get rid of the people who are just not opening anything, you can actually save some money, because most programs to handle email services charge you by the count that they send out to. So if you've got 500 deadbeats, let's just say it, deadbeats in there, why are you paying for those? Get rid of them on that. Now, next up, I want you to go to your Amazon detail page. And on that page, what I want you to do there is that I want you to go into your account on Amazon KDP, and I want you to go down to your keywords, and you're going to do this on Ingram Spark also. Go down to your Amazon keywords. So you have 7 categories. And remember, it doesn't have to be just one word. It can be many words. It can be phrase, like a phrase, long tail phrase, 3 and 4 words. And go back and look at the theme of your book or key concepts in your book. Narrow it down to that word, that bring it into play. And then let's do a revision on that. Now, you want to make sure also that it fits in your categories. I'm going to tell you to do the same thing. I want you to go look at your categories. Are they still the right fit? Amazon is notorious for changing stuff all the time. So, are there other categories? Now, here's the little hack I'm going to have you do. I want you to go and look at competitor books, best-selling books that are in your genre. And I want you to scroll down on their detail page on Amazon and see what categories they're landing on. Are any of those key words in your descriptor? Because that's a great way to get 2 or 3 words in on there to put it in. And it, is it dystopian fantasy? Middle school, for example. How's that? That would pick up the middle school kids who are into fantasy reading, into dystopian future type. So do those kind of things to expand your skills, your capabilities. It will make a huge difference. You're going to do this on Amazon. And then I want you to go to the metadata. I'll call it metadata on Ingram Spark, on your Ingram Spark page, and pull that all together. And so pick that up. And this is something I would recommend that you set it, a calendar reminder. I do it on a quarterly basis. Just go in and handle it that way. Because you'll find that things change. Amazon is, again, notorious for changes on that. And remember, your keywords and your metadata shows up, in the Ingram calendar where people are doing searches as well. So do that. Let's talk about money. How about your book? What's the price of your book? Is it the right price? Is it the price that's appropriate for your genre out there? Because, maybe sure that there's 2 things going on here. I want to make sure that it's competitive for your genre within $1 or 2. It needs to be. That one of the fatal errors, huge mistake I see independent and self-published authors make is they start thinking, but it costs me this much money, I'm on print on demand, and it costs me $6.72 to print a book. So therefore, if it's reselling, I may be only making $1. Is there a way I can make $1 more? Yeah, let's check your price. Number 1, is it appropriate for your genre? Again, you've got to go back in, and I would look at it. We're into a new year. The current year, at least the last year, maybe you can trail into the 2023, 24 for sure. But what's the price of the best-selling books? And remember, if you're looking at Amazon, which is just fine, but they may be discounting the price or the availability. What you've got to do is look at the original retail price and look at the big boys in publishing sell their books. They increase prices if appropriate. And I've seen that happen, especially in the fantasy area, where they were all below $20 for a long time. We're finally starting to see them a little bit above. So come over and look at what your price is. And I know that I increase my prices because we do look at those costs, but now the genre will carry the cost. And when you're doing print on demand, you're talking easy peasy in both Amazon. I actually would go to your book designer, whoever puts the barcode in, which I'm assuming is a book designer, that they can easily put a new barcode on your book. And remember, Amazon and Ingram Spark are two different animals, two different specs that you'll need to have one for each one. Now, since you're going to do that, let's do something else with your back cover. That should you do an update? Did you have a killer testimonial if you have an older book? Is there something that did you have major awards that maybe you want to get listed, or a couple of them at the very top, like on top of your headline? Do you have a headline on your back cover? Why not? Because we're in that nanobyte era. That's what's grabbed, what's the headline that would grab people for your book to bring it in? Is there, maybe you might want to rearrange that a little bit. Maybe that you're a little sharper now in marketing. You might have had it differently than what you have now. This is a great time to alter the copy on your back cover and then upload them both to KDP and Ingram Spark so it goes out. If you decide to change your front cover, now you're going to have to get a new ISBN. So I think you're going to, whatever your cover is, I would try to keep that the main cover, but I would be going after some of the changes on the back cover and see that you can do that. So pricing, for one, you want to look at what's trending, and you want to make sure things you stay in the marketable era. All right, next out, you've got to go through, we're back on our website and our social media, but let's just really, what did you post in the past? Is it relevant? Are you still doing the same kind of thing every day, a couple of times a week? Maybe it needs a fine tuning. And if you've got some anything that still carries in that with discount codes and all that, get rid of it. You don't want to look like you're treating your website with benign neglect. You just don't want to be in the benign neglect thing that, I did it once, I'm done with it. No, you've got to come out. Now, let's start going just to talking about you and your own personal organization. When's the last time you've done some decluttering? And I'm not talking about your desk, but you can do that too. I'm really talking about your computer. Do you know, like when people meet with me and I'm sharing my screen computer, they'll see my desktop and they'll go, "Oh my God, she's got so much stuff up there." Actually, it's all in the system. Like at the very bottom section and I use shortcuts. All my folders have folders in the documents, and then things that I work on all the time, I create a shortcut. How do you do that? Well, if you open up your documents and you see your documents file and you click on a file, and it probably gives you a whole list of things that you can do with it, from copy to send it to transfer it. It will have something that says make a shortcut on it. And I have, and it maybe you have to click more to get it, but create a shortcut. And so that means that when you move the shortcut, when I move my shortcut onto my desktop, that anything I do in the shortcut is duplicated in the master file. And likewise, anything I would do in the master file would be duplicated on the shortcut on that. And that on my desktop, on the whole lower section, are all shortcut folders of active clients that I'm personally working with them on creating their book, writing with them on their book, or we're doing a marketing strategy, and I need to be in that file all the time. So I just keep it in its visual. So it's always my very bottom. And then I have marketing related things on the right side, or event things I'm doing. Setting up, I have a folder on bookstore, shortcutted, that I'm working with, already setting up. I have 5 events already set up for the first couple of months of this year, where I'll be in bookstores. And so things that I am going to be sending to them. I have a file for like my newsletter folder, shortcut, again, of course, all shortcuts. I have podcasts. And and on this side is like my working area. And then in the middle section are active things I'm doing, and they're going to disappear or go away. Books that I'm working on, the two books I'm working on are right smack in the middle that I get to right away. And on the left, maybe some apps that I'm into all the time, including the trash box. Right. So first of all, declutter your desktop. Now and then go into your individual folders. I've always felt it's made me nutsy when I said, people go get this file. In your folder on your book, every book you work on should have its own folder. Inside the book is going to be more folders. There should be a marketing folder. If you're using art and illustrations, there should be that. In my marketing folder, I might have subfolders like would be, maybe I do a lot of quotes on that, and that the poster would be in there. Inside my general marketing folder, because I do monthly special things that I do. Like January is Blitz month. So from reading books to sending books, I have a quote every day that I've written up for the month of January. And sometimes they're my personal quotes. Sometimes maybe I'm quoting Stephen King. Whatever is appropriate to fit the tie in with the theme. So that would work with me. But cleaning up and organizing. So I want you to label, file, and this is the beginning of the year. So let's think about that. And there's even think about your phone. There's a phone app called Phone Swipe or Swipe. It's not Swipe. It's Swipe Wipe. And you can go through your phone and clear off old images. I bet you have a gazillion duplicates and old folder. You're thinking, why am I keeping this stuff? Well, Swipe Wipe will help you just dump it. And you've got and from social media images, from old promos, from anything, you want to clear up space, computer as well as your phone. And I think of my phone as my second. I've got three different computers, but this is another computer. And remember, you've got more power on your phone than they had when they sent men to the moon the first time. Isn't that awesome? So then now I would like to bring back, I think it's so cool. And I love it when I get some of the beautiful handwritten notes I've gotten. I actually keep them all. I keep all my handwritten notes. I like them. It's the kind of sometime the feel good file you just pull out and remind you of some of the neat stuff that you've done. Because look we all have bumpy days. And sometimes you need that gooser to just remind you, you do some awesome stuff. So to bring that up and do that. But I'm a big believer. This week I am finishing up. I've written all my thank you notes and sent them out. And I actually do mostly I'll do hand, but I'm there's so many great online senders. I use Jackie Lawson. She has an amazing group. I said, but after Jackie Lawson, but American Cards, there's all kinds of stuff that you can really send a really nice, heartfelt note that's really very pretty to receive. And that goes out email to that. But thank you notes. I'm amazed that they've just disappeared. This is a great time to express gratitude to friends for just being your friend. And remember, handwritten notes. I remember one of the first ones I got from a real professional, Tom Peters, would send me hand notes every once in a while about a book I'd done or something I'm seeing or something. And I saved those notes that we've gotten on. I remember a time I had a great week. I was out speaking on the road, and then I got a phone call from someone who I thought I would be working with. And she shredded me. She didn't like the way I looked. She didn't like the way I presented as I talked. She told me I had no sense of humor. I have a very quirky sense of humor. She told me that I needed to go back and learn how to write. I mean, clearly she was not going to hire me. But by the time I was done with the phone call, and and I did thank her for returning my phone call after we had sent her a bunch of material because I had been referred to their group to speak, and and I felt slumped. I mean, I was really high when I came in that day, um, and I just like, God, I just got shot in the belly. And my marketing person, she could hear the phone call, and she had gone over to one of our files. We have these big broad, the big wide files, and she pulled out a file and she said, here's a letter from Tom Peters. Here's a letter from Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. Here's a letter from Rosalind Carter. Here's a letter from Diane Sawyerman. My daughter worked for me at the time, and she just said, this woman, whoever you were talking to, didn't count. So thank you notes do count. A lot of people, like me, save them. Some of them are just gorgeous. I mean, I've written back, thank you for this beautiful card. I mean, the words are wonderful, but it's gorgeous on that. So handwritten thank you notes. And of course, I think the younger generation, doesn't thank that. And I remember telling my grandkids, and I've got grandkids that are, in approaching adulthood. And I said to them, I said, I do this for you in that, and you don't thank me anymore. Well, that changed. So, you know, thank you notes, they do matter. They do count. So think about that and think about saving it. You know, it's just not people who design your books. I love my people. Two of the people who are sponsors of this show, Nick Zellinger of NZ Graphics, does amazing creative work, fast, incredibly reasonable. So I'm just going to say nzgraphics.com, someone you should use. Rebecca Finkel, awesome creative stuff that she comes up with the design. She designs all my fiction books. She's doing my cookbook. And just fun putting that together. And Rebecca's at, FPGD, fpgd.com, and she does amazing things. Those are the websites for those two designers. I would recommend they sponsor our podcast. And Nick Zellinger is NZ as in zebra graphics.com. And Rebecca is at Rebecca at fpgd.com. They do amazing work. And I couldn't imagine ever doing a book without either one of them having their hands in my personal books, but I refer our clients to them. So, do they get thank yous from me? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Notes, graphics, emails, all kinds of things all the time. Sometimes it's a phone call just to pick up. Sometimes, just to spend some, verbal time, real time, or I'll say, hey, can I get on FaceTime with you on the phone or, on Zoom, just so we can have face-to-face time. It makes all the difference in the world. So thank them. It always leaves a lasting impression. I'm telling you, guaranteed. All right. So what about your photos? Do you look like you? A lot of people don't. I allow my wrinkles to show. I have allowed, I used to say gray. I guess I've never really had gray. It's always kind of gone white. But I am always amazed when people use photos that are 10 years old, 5 years old, unless that's exactly what you look like. People want to see, even when if you wear glasses, like I wear them most of the time, even though I just need them for distance, they're progressives and I can use the computer and everything. That these are new this year, new babies. And I've got also some black ones I've got, but I'll go in with my colors and pull those into play because they're fun. And it makes me feel good. So my colors are purple and lime green. They've been my corporate colors for a long time. So let's update your photos. Does it really look like you? I always do at least a photo shoot every other year to bring it all in. And your hairstyle change. I remember one time a client telling me, because they were looking at a bunch of videos when they hired me, and it was a bank manager, bank president, and he said, I didn't know who was going to show up because there were so many changes. And that's back then, we had websites, but we carried a lot of old stuff. And so maybe you need to update. Maybe you need the oldies but goodies, a separate section for in the past, but bring your current self. That's what I want you to bring into play in that. All right, so let's talk about your toolkit that you have. So what's your go-to toolkit? Now, this on your website, these are services that you might be offering. Have you expanded? Have you changed? If you're giving prices, are they still the same prices that you put up a while ago? Do you have any special subscriptions to your newsletter you want people to sign up for? Or what about and it's like we realize it was like a ding dong last year. Where do people sign up? Because when they're clients, they automatically get it. Or if they sign up for the blog, they get it. But we never had a separate spiel for the newsletter. And that was like, how did we miss that baby? Right. So make sure that they're a part of your toolkit. I also have my personal toolkits that I use, and I'm going to do a whole show. We do it at least once a year on tools um, for authors. But it's like, Word Hippo is in my toolkit. I love wordhippo.com. It's free. And that when I'm searching for words, like I had one client that used the word describe 150 times in a book. It was a nonfiction book. Oh my God. So thank you, Word Hippo, to help me out. Because the thesaurus only goes so far. It's a thesaurus in a whole new dimension. I love Photophonia. It's in my toolkit. They always bring on some new stuff. A whole bunch of fun stuff we had during the holidays. Photophonia. Again, when you go to these sites that are still free, remember they're going to carry advertising, and you got to be careful what you click on to get you through. So on where you are on there, because you may be way past you're you find yourself all of a sudden signing up for a hardware supply store, or you're in another area. So you've got to pay attention that you X out stuff. But Photophonia is just the best to go on. So those are always in my toolkit. I always recommend them to all my authors for building and start. And that's a great way to from your word writing, where you have Word Hippo, but also like something like a Photophonia, that you can go in and start creating all these amazing illustrations, like with your book, like in a Times Square type of area, banners going, galleries going, in a snow globe that might say Amazon bestseller on it. I mean, how cool is that when that happens? Or, you may have a new book. You can put your cover in the snow globe. I mean, we're in wintertime here, in the snow globe, and it will say, hot off the presses, or you put your title if it's a short. I mean, you have limitations on character use when you have these free words going on. One of my favorite ones is, let's see, what is it called? Day of the Dead. You can put your photo in, and all of a sudden you are Day of the Dead, and they have male and female. So cool. When I put it out the first time, someone came and they said, how long did it take to get all that makeup on you? I mean, really? Or one of my one is the chocolatier, that they have a chocolate shop with two, like if you have two books, or maybe you could have your picture in your book, that you can put them in, and someone literally, I had several people, how much did it cost to do those posters in that store? Zero, zero. And my other tool that I think is indispensable for all authors is BookBrush, bookbrush.com. And in bookbrush.com, that it's only for authors. And you can do so much and so much. And let me just give you my code to get a discount. It's Judith, Judith, 1515. And it can be upper, lowercase, no, nothing, just anything easy peasy on this. And we can have that. So we can take advantage of that. All right. So those are a couple of things, I wanted to bring you up. So let's get those photos. Let's think about what belongs in your toolkit. And lastly, I want to talk about goals. What are you doing this year? What's your personal goal for you, you? What's your personal goal just for you? And could it be read more books? Maybe take some time out? Is it, I mean, I have a personal goal because I have a very aging husband that I can't get out as much. I can't leave as much, but I have a personal goal that at least twice a month I do a girlfriend lunch. I do a girlfriend lunch. I go and play with, and we may just get together and just talk and laugh and have a good time. We could do something where we had we go to lunch, that I can get out in the midday for 90 minutes. I can't leave John alone a lot now. So, or when I have a caregiver who comes in a couple of days in the morning, I can slip out. But what are you doing for you? And I think that's so important, time for you. So it could be reading a book. It could be watching a series. I like to binge stuff. It could be watching a series on TV line. It could just be maybe just listening to some favorite music. That's you. Now let's talk about your book. And then then your business. What are you doing for your book? Are you gonna do anything new for marketing? Any ads? Any deletions? Are you gonna reach out to other groups? How about doing an online book search for online book clubs? With Zoom and other FaceTime availability, you as the author can come into the host living room or dining room area or wherever the book club meets. And you can be there and present and talk and be part of their group. That's a very cool thing that you can do. So I would be doing online searches. Go down to your bookstore. And I'm going to be doing a session on reaching out to bookstores, setting up bookstore events. Do you know the typical author, when they're in a bookstore as a soloist, sells 4 to 6 books? That's typical. I I don't leave a bookstore without selling at least 30 copies of my collectively of my books. I may have several books with me when I'm in them, and usually I do, because I've written several books. But that you when you learn to develop a hook to engage people to bring them in, and it makes all the difference in creating you as a personality, as an author that they want to connect with and follow. And I know that for the book signings I've got coming up, I've got 2 solo events in January. I've got 3 already set up with other authors, and that I do press releases. I'm coming. I make special posters and we push them out through my social. Meet me at Barnes and Noble in Denver West Village, for example, on January, oh, when am I going to be there? On January 18th. All right. Or meet me at Southlands Mall, Barnes and Noble, January 19th. All right. So I will push that out via email. I will push it out social media. I'll let them know going. So and I know they will have a whole table of my books. And I know which copies they're going to sell 20 of. And we do. And so, because I've been out here for a while. But you start getting in, and if you've got a hot book, you want to start bringing in and building your crowd and what you have there. So one of your goals, I'm going to give you a goal, is I'm going to be collecting emails. Email is your goal. We're back to your website where we started this hour. I'm going to go back to your website and saying this is what you're going to be and start. So how do you do that? Well, you can create a contest. My tool in my toolkit is King Sumo. And I paid $49 one time for the upgrade because I can get their name, I can get their email, and I can get their phone number. And we asked for the mobile because I can text them or call up. Now, if they're winners, I really need to do that. But I found in the recent contests we did, where we had many, many hundreds of people apply, maybe 10 did not give their phone number. And that's a choice. It's fine. But that list is your treasure chest. You control it, you own it. And when you have a portal, and I did a fabulous session, it was like the #2 downloaded over 200,000 downloads last year on how to create the ultimate opt-in through this, that you want to listen to that. It was only the audio, but you want to listen to that. So I think I'll do it again later in the year so we can video and I can bring up samples and I can show you what I've done and how I do it and how I roll it out. But you want to have something planted on your homepage on the right side, upper right, this above what they call the fold, that you want to have it up there. So when remember, probably most of your followers are going to be English speaking, so they're going to read left to right. You want it on the right side, upper section, whatever your little treasure is. Grab mine, get my 5 tips to, or something amazing. And it's free, people. This is a freebie, but they will give their phone number, their email and their name to download it, right? That's how you start building a fan base, which is what you want. That is how you build a fan base, which is this is all about. It's what we're all after. And then that's how you stay in contact and you add them to your mailing list and you communicate with them. Is that. So website and building. And I opened up a new website last year. So we're just really building on that. But that typically when I ask people, so how many emails do you have? Oh, I have 112. No. I want you to start saying I have 500. I have 1,000. I've got 1,500. I've got 2,000. I've got 5,000. This is what we're after, to build them. This is where your fans come from and build. So my new website, and I'd love to have you all go on it. And guess what? You're going to download my freebie, easy peasy. Right now, I'm expanding the book quite a bit, and we're going to put it up on the Giant A, Amazon, for sale. But I like to cook, and I'm sharing a lot of my favorite easy peasy. Some things like 4 ingredients, or one thing I'm writing up for the new book. I'm telling that, we're not all Martha Stewart. We're not Ina Garden. We're all not. But you may have tips that you have for them, or your pantry is not going to look like um, Martha Stewart's, which is crazy, crazy. But there are certain elements that I tell people that for me, and it's always for me, it's for you. There are things that you eat that you love. Those are your staples and belong there. One of the things for me, for example, in my pantry that I will tell people is I have jars of capers, and they're like quart, like pints, at least 2 cups, 3 cups of capers because I use them a lot. I love sauces, and I've always loved capers. You might have trouble borrowing a cup of sugar from me, but I can loan you a cup of capers. So I will be including these are the elements that I use, and I never have these herbs that are almost in so many recipes because I'm highly allergic to them. So I let people know right up front, you'll never find these things in there. But so I share that kind of stuff on judithbrylesbooks.com. Go into it, join me, please, 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 and download over there on the far right. Download some of my easy peasy recipes. You get like 15 of them I give you. The new cookbook has a whole bunch more, but that's my gift 2025 to you. Now, let's go to your other goals. So you have personal goals. What are your website goals? That's going to do these updates that we've been talking about. These, past 15 minutes, you're going to get those there and put together. And then what you're going to do is, and your website, and then your book. What are you going to do to really keep your book going? When people say, well, how long do I have to do this marketing? Oh my God, I hate marketing. I, you know, I guess I'm blessed. I like marketing. I like talking to people. I like telling them about things that I think would work or help them or that I've participated in that I can share. Well, your book is out there to help people, to either entertain them, give them time out and way, to offer solutions for what they're looking for. I don't care if it's health. I don't care if it's, workplace. I don't care if it's nutrition. I don't care what your areas of expertise are, but you love them and passion and you're bringing them to the party and you have them in this print, this digital, maybe audio, now video format that you can share. All right. So what are you going to do to help push it out? And I'll tell you, here's another one of my hacks. One in my author toolkit. Do you go to Brainy Quotes? Do you go up to the Google and just say quotes on whatever your area of expertise is, on the theme of your book, and just see what you can pull out? And then make posters. Now, you can make posters through Canva, another thing in your toolkit, or BookBrush. Love BookBrush because you can bring in your book posters and stuff. Photofunia. You could do all these different goodies. Explore Photofunia. On the left is a menu, columns that tell you all these different categories. Gosh, you can put yourself on a magazine cover, like Glamour, ladies, or guys, Gentlemen's Quarterly. You've got all those stuff. You can get on a book cover and show you or your book. Some of them have 2-page spreads. Okay, so you post these out. Now you create something with this awesome quote by someone from your genre or whatever. So I've given you resources that you can go to build your goals. I hope your goal is to build my influence, to build my book sales, to make a difference from people who love what I write about in your theme. That's a worthwhile goal to have. And then step by step, and that we do through the Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast, is to give you those tips, those strategies, those ahas that will take you to the next level. That's what my goal is for you. And I hope that you can take that away. All right, so we're going to wrap up our show. We've loved having you with us for this literally past 55-minute plus, and that we're going to be giving you more of these through the week. Next week with us will be the awesome Brian Feinblum, who will be getting into the strategies and tips for book marketing going forward in this new year, which I love always doing. I will have John Kramer a little bit later to do that. But again, I want to thank both Nick Zellinger of NZ Graphics and Rebecca Finkel of FPGD.com, book designers extraordinary, for being our sponsors. And of course, AuthorU.org, and that's AUTHOR, the letter U, org.org, for being our sponsors for this segment. So, wishing you a wonderful writing year, wishing you a wonderful publishing year, and here's to celebrating with you book marketing success. I'm Dr. Judith Riles. I'm the Book Shepherd. We'll see you next week. 3, 2, 1. Okay, Ben.